Hello everybody, hope you all are doing really well. Welcome to this session where we are going to discuss about ACCA AA chapter number 2, external audits. My friends, in this session we are going to revise this chapter in very much detail, plus we are going to solve certain questions as well. So I hope my audio and videos are visible to you, and just in case if you are not able to view me or watch me or listen to me, please let me know on the chat box. So let's just wait for 1 minute for others to join and see if I'm audible and visible clearly or not. So please confirm on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly. Please confirm on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly. Yes. Okay, I hope I'm audible and visible clearly. I hope I'm audible and visible clearly. Yes. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, so now let's start with chapter number 2. So my friends, what we need to understand here is that whenever we revise any chapter, we do not need to go into the full depth, but we need to focus more on the important pointers. And similarly, when we will be solving the questions, we have to be very particular about each requirement. So the level of study, the kind of study and the manner of study changes a little bit when we move from our regular batches to the fast track batches or the exam oriented batches, and when we enter into the revision session, right? So today we are going to study in the method which will help us to revise the content. So let's quickly move to chapter number 2, which is external audits. My friends, we have detailed and discussed about the objectives also, but before we move further, I would like to clarify certain things. Number one is whether you will be provided these notes, or not. So yes, you will be provided the notes, right? So no issues on that. Notes would be provided to you. Where you can access it? So you can access it on my Telegram channel, which is ACCA with CS Supreet Agrawal, or you can comment down your email IDs and our team will be able to share it to you. Not an issue. Okay. Now you need to save this video because we are going to come up with a lot of revision videos for a lot of chapters of your AA syllabus. Okay. So now my friends, let's quickly move into the syllabus because we have limited time available with us when we are revising any content. So regulatory frameworks for audit. What is the regulatory framework for audit? So primarily statutory, that is, it is required by law and regulation to conduct any audit. Predominantly it is audit only. Predominantly it is the statutory only, driven by laws and regulations. However, some jurisdictions allow for the audit exemptions also, that is, there are certain jurisdictions which allow for the audit exemptions also, that is, in those jurisdictions the companies are not subject to audit, right? Then let's discuss about mechanisms. Okay, mechanisms. When I say mechanisms, so auditors need to be regulated to ensure they maintain high standards of audit work and their reputation with the public is maintained. They need to be regulated, as in there should be one regulatory body or there should be certain regulatory frameworks to monitor them, regulatory bodies or frameworks. When I say regulatory bodies, I mean the bodies like ICAI, ACCA body, right, which monitors and regulates the profession of audit. Then auditors are regulated by either statute, there may be laws and regulations, licensing requirements. For example, in India, every chartered accountant in practice needs to take a license, need to take a practicing certificate from ICAI. Competence requirements, and similarly for ACCA need to take from ACCA. Then competence requirements, as in continuous professional hours, that a professional accountant should be competent, knowledge, skills, experience, that we remember, right? Now professional conduct, so code of conducts are also designed. A professional accountant could do what, in what scenarios, how to deal with different scenarios. Then there are auditing standards like ISS that are created, and disciplinary procedures are also there, that is, if you deviate from any of these requirements, then how it would be dealt with, right? That is very important for all of us to understand. So we have discussed this part of the syllabus where we have discussed about why auditors needs to be maintained and monitored, and then we have also discussed about that certain small companies having concentration of ownership and management, few sources of income and simple management structure are or maybe not required to get their accounts audited in certain jurisdictions, but predominantly it is statutory in nature. Then let's discuss about IFAC. But sir, why are we discussing these things over here? Because it is important for you guys, so please do not ignore it. Okay, when I say International Federation of Accountants, what do I mean by it? So International Federation of Accountants, first of all, my friends, should be remembered as IFAC. Okay, IFAC, and this mnemonic could be used in the examination also, so please remember it that it is IFAC. Now we discussed about the mission and vision. Mission is majorly to serve a public interest. How do they serve the public interest? They serve the public interest by creating policies and procedures in the public interest for the accounting profession as a whole. Then their vision is to be a global accountancy profession. Their vision is that global accountancy profession should be recognized as a valued profession across the globe, right? That is vision. Now let's talk about standard setting boards. So there are majorly 4 standard setting boards under IFAC. Under IFAC there are 4 standard setting boards. Number 1 is IASB and number 2 is IESBA. Now my friends, these two are going to be a little important for our examination. Rest 2 should only be remembered as far as the full form is considered. So IAESB and IPSASB. What is IASB? International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board. When I say ISBA, International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants. Then IAESB, International Accounting Education Standards Board, and IPSASB is International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Now let's discuss about scope and development of ISS. When I say scope and development of ISS, so scope is that all standards relevant to the audit process for an assignment must be followed. That is, if any standard has been created, that is any ISA has been created and it is relevant for the audit, it must be followed. That is, a professional accountant cannot deviate themselves from the ISS, from the requirements of the ISS and say that we have complied with the international standards. No, even if single ISS is not followed, then you have not complied with the requirements of ISS. In exceptional circumstances, deviation is allowed, but that should be exceptional circumstances and the reason should be justified. Now ISA requires auditors to use their professional judgment when applying them. That is, it is not just a blank practice that whatever you have written, you have to apply it accordingly only. But what happens is you can customize it according to the circumstances, according to the nature of the events, and you have to justify everything according to your professional judgment. Then in exceptional circumstances, like we discussed, if auditor departs from the standards, then the departure must be justified in the working papers. What is working papers? Audit documentation that we discussed in lecture number 1, right? This is lecture number 2. Now, an auditor can only state compliance with ISS when all standards relevant to the specific circumstances of the audit have been complied with. Well, all standards, not even one. That is, even if one is not complied, even if one is not complied with, cannot say complied, right? That is important. Cannot say complied. Okay, now development, how these standards are developed. So my friends, like every other standard, like every other rules and regulations, what happens is generally the plan is proposed, then the plan is accepted. Once the plan is accepted, a team is divided or a team is specified. Then after the team is specified, they create a draft report, then they open it for the public or the experienced auditors to comment upon, known as exposure draft. Then the comments are considered, and finally after consideration of the comments, the revised document is there if there are significant changes, right? And that becomes the standard. So project is proposed. If approved, project assigned to a task force, research carried out and exposure draft prepared, draft placed on IFAC website and distributed for comments to member bodies and interested parties. Then comments is received and considered, draft received and reissued, and revised ED as an exposure draft approved and issued as a standard. So that is the process, right? Not an issue. Just in case if you face any trouble, my friends, please feel free to let me know. I have kept my face a little fast so that you can revise. Okay, just in case if you need any explanation, any detailed explanation on any of the points, please feel free to reach out to me. There is not an issue. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, eligibility to become an auditor. Can anybody become an auditor? Can anybody become an auditor? Can anybody become an auditor? Is it true that anybody could become an auditor? No, my friends, anybody could not become an auditor. Please do not be in this wrong understanding that anybody could become an auditor. To become an auditor, there are eligibility requirements. Can any ACCA and CA become an auditor? No, my friends, that too is not possible. So, should be appropriately qualified. When I say appropriately qualified, it should be a member of recognized professional body. Recognized professional bodies are those bodies which have been given due power to conduct the examination and give the recognition of being a professional accountant. For example, in India, it is ICAI, in an international framework, it is ACCA, and then there are many national bodies across the world. Holding an approved international qualification, that is, there should be an approved international qualification. Is CA an international qualification? Yes. Is ACCA international qualification? Yes. In most jurisdictions, independence is also required. Now, this independence, we will be discussing it under professional ethics, but this independence is not just independence of appearance, but also independence of mind. So, I will quickly write it: independence of appearance plus mind. I hope this is clear. Now, recognized supervisory bodies. Who are recognized supervisory bodies? Read generally beyond the AA syllabus. That is, it is beyond the AA syllabus. Read generally. Members of RSBs are recognized by statute as eligible to sign auditor's report. In our case, in India, it is ICI. Internationally, it is ACCA also. ACC is also a RSB. Now, rights and duties of auditors. Let's discuss about rights and duties of auditors. Rights and duties. So, here on the left hand side, there are rights, and on the right hand side, there are duties. Rights: to have access to accounting records, To have access to accounting records and supporting documents, that is, they should be provided access to, okay, access to, not ownership, access. And to require information from management considered necessary. So to require information from management, to have unrestricted access to person within the entity. When I say unrestricted access, so it should be provided to the relevant people only, not across any person, but to the relevant people. Unrestricted access should be there, that is, auditor could visit any number of times during the business hours, and auditors could ask all the relevant questions that they consider necessary for the audit. Now, to receive notice of, this is very important because a lot of questions are framed from this. To receive notice of, attend and be heard at the general meeting of the company on business which concerns them as an auditor. That is, they should have the right to what? To receive the notice, to attend and be heard at all the general meetings, and they should be able to speak on the matters that concerns them as an auditor. Can they speak on any matter? No. Can they speak on any matter? No. But they can speak on concerned matters. Any matter? No. Only concerned matters. Concerned matters as in which concerns them as an auditor. Okay. What are those matters? We generally discuss it in our regular classes. Now, when I say duties, what are the duties? See, my friends, with rights there comes certain duties also. Primary duty is to report to the company's shareholders on the financial statements prepared to an accounting reference period. Okay, primary duty is to report. Second, to keep proper records. When I say proper records, that should be able to convey that they have prepared every record after verifying the supporting documents only. To report on whether auditor has received all necessary information. So, to report on whether they have received, whether auditor as in whether they have received all necessary information to frame their conclusion. Just in case they are not able to frame their conclusion, then there are different standards that talks about the modification of the audit report. Then to report on whether director's report is consistent with the information contained in FS. When I say director's report, so this majorly talks about not just director's report, but talks about the annual report. That is, whether annual report issued by the company is consistent with the auditor's report or not, and this requirement is also driven by ISS 720, which is other information. Okay. Now, appointment of auditors. See, very important to understand how somebody comes in your life, as an appointment of auditors, how auditors enters the company. This is very important to understand. So these shareholders are ultimately responsible for the appointment of the external auditor. See, just like if you want to bring somebody into your life, it needs to, and you need to take the confirmation, or you need to get them hired from your entire family, right? Similarly, in this particular case, if auditor needs to be appointed, then their appointment should be approved by the entire shareholders. Okay, so should be done by the shareholders and not managers, not directors. Okay, so I'll write it here, not directors, BOD or TCWG. So who hires the auditors? So shareholders hire the auditor. Okay, the process may be delegated to directors and then approved by the shareholders. That is, directors could give them the options, should give them the option to the shareholders, and then shareholders could finally approve. Sometimes director hires the auditor, appoints the auditor, and then it is later approved by the shareholder in the general meeting. Typically, appointment is for 1 year because reappointment is required every year. Reappointment is done at the AGM. Remuneration is negotiated either by directors or audit committee wherever applicable, but should be approved only and only by the shareholders, because whosoever would appoint, they will only have the right to decide the remuneration also. Audit appointment process is discussed in detail in chapter number 5. Okay, so there's a separate chapter on auditor appointment. We will be discussing it there. Removal of auditors. Can you remove somebody from your life? Yes. Can the auditor get removed from the company? Yes. So this is removal. Okay, when auditor is removed, not resigned. Okay, so should not be removed just on the whim of directors. When I say whim of the directors, it means the disagreement, the aggression of the directors. Okay, one shareholder can remove the auditor from office. Only shareholders can remove the auditor from office as they appoint the auditors. Because see, if it would be given to the directors, if this power would be given to the directors, then anytime an auditor would be able to discover any fraud which requires the management or which involves the management, they will take the decision to remove the auditor, right? So similarly, this power is being given to the shareholders only, then that only they can remove the auditors. Now, resignation. Can auditor resign? Yes. At point of re-election or resignation during engagement. See, at point of re-election, that is, if there is a continuation that needs to be happened, that whether the auditor will continue or not, and they don't want to continue, what they can do, they will not stand for the election, right? So that is important. That could be one, simply does not stand for re-election. But when I say resignation during engagement, now this is important because you are performing the audit, maybe you have performed 50% of the audit and now you want to resign, so it creates a little trouble, right? Because now you are resigning during the engagement, during the assignment. So must give the client written notice of his resignation, which is also sent to the appropriate regulatory and audit authorities. That is, for example, an ACCA decides to remove themselves from the audit during the year, then one letter needs to be drafted, needs to be given to the client, plus needs to be given to the ACCA body and other regulatory bodies. For example, in US, it needs to be given to SEC, right? So that is very, very important. Now, the auditor must also consider his professional duty to complete the engagement and the legal consequences of resignation, because sometimes what might happen is, see, you are doing the audit for the year ended 31st March, it is already 30th June and you have to report by 15th of July, and now you have decided to resign. So only 15 days are there for the reporting deadline. Now the client might also sue you, right? That why are you resigning right now when there are only 15 days left? We cannot even get the audit conducted from other parties. So that might have legal consequences also. So you should always consider that what are your professional duties. Sometimes it is also driven in certain regulations, certain jurisdictions, that if you have completed the audit for say 3 quarters, you should also complete the audit for the 4th quarter. If you have completed say for this year, you should also complete for the next year before resigning. There are certain regulations regarding that, but not part of our syllabus, so you don't need to worry about it. Why an auditor might resign? Now this is a value adding question, that is why. Asking why, right? That is very important. So significant limitations placed on work, that could be there, that management is not ready to provide us the evidences. Whenever we ask for any evidences, they generally say that we cannot provide you. So that is their significant limitations placed on work. Loss of trust could be there, yes, that they have lost the trust. And regulatory requirements are also there, that is due to an investigation, that is an investigation is being conducted on the auditor and therefore they cannot continue the engagement, right? Now role of audit committee must also be evaluated for resignation wherever required, discussed in detail in chapter number 3, which is corporate governance, and that we will be revising later on. But my friends, this is our last YouTube live session, because after this, whenever we conduct any of the sessions for our exam oriented batch for the crash course, it would be on our app. The app is BB Virtuals Global. The app is BB Virtuals Global. You can also go to our website by the name of www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. okay, plus you can also contact our team on the number given in the description box. My friends, if you want these notes, you can come to our Telegram channel. Please raise a request for these notes and I would be sending it to you, not an issue. Okay, and if you need any explanation, any point explanation, please feel free to post it on the Telegram group. We would be able to help you on that. Okay, now limitations of external audits. Are there any limitations? We discussed, no, that auditor has the supreme power, right? Can there be any limitations? Yes, everything has a limitation sometimes, right? So following are the inherent limitations of audit. And my friends, this is very, very important, because this could be asked in the examination either in the MCQ format or in the descriptive format, right? So the nature of financial reporting. The more complex the financial reporting is getting, the complex it is getting to audit that also, right? So that is very, very important. The nature of financial reporting makes it an inherent limitations that now there is an unavoidable risk that certain misstatements which have material impact might be missed by the auditor. The nature of audit procedures. A lot of audit procedures are persuasive in nature and not conclusive. That is, they help us evaluate that this might be true, but they do not help us evaluate or conclude that only this is true. Now, timeliness and cost versus benefit. When I say timeliness and cost versus benefit, so there is limited time, there is limited cost that we can invest in an audit, and therefore there could be a scenario that we are not able to perform the relevant procedures and get the relevant output. Now, status of ISS and national standards. So see, a lot of national companies are there, a lot of nations are there which are trying to converge their local standards with the ISS. For example, in India also, if you see, a lot of SS are now based on ISS or are inconsistent with ISS, right? So ISS and SS are consistent, even the numbers are same. So India as a nation has taken this responsibility, has taken this decision that what they would be doing is they would be doing what? They would be merging it or converging it into the ISS only. Whatever are the requirements of ISS, they would be following the same. But when I talk about other nations, sometimes they have their local standards, sometimes they are merged with ISS. Okay, Now ISA 220 quality management for an audit of financial statements, quality management for an audit of financial statements. This is important. Why? Because see, whenever we talk about quality management, first thing that we should understand is that ISQM 1, which deals with quality management at the firm level, is not examinable in AA. It is examinable in AAA. Okay, ISQM 1 and ISQM 2 are not there, but ISA 220 is there, which is quality management for an audit of financial statements. Now, what is quality management? What is quality management? Quality management is that whether the procedures relevant for an engagement is done in a particular quality manner or not. That is, whether every risk is identified and covered at the appropriate level or not. That is the meaning of quality management. It is for an audit. ISA 220 is for an audit, not for the firm. Okay, the firm level is not covered in AA syllabus, it is covered in AAA syllabus. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, quality management or quality must be managed at the engagement level to have reasonable assurance that the audit has been conducted in compliance with the professional standards and legal and regulatory requirements, and the auditor's report issued is appropriate in the circumstances. Now, when I say how do we need to mention or how do we need to measure whether quality management is being conducted properly or not, and what areas we need to look at, so it provides a certain guidance which are called as components of quality management. So this is generally heal me. See, when you go to a hospital, what do you say? You say heal me, okay? But when you say heal me, so you expect the quality. So that is why heal me is related to quality. That is how you can remember it. Heal me is related to quality. When you go to a hospital, what do you expect? That they would heal you, and they would heal you in a qualitative manner with quality, right? So quality management is related to heal me. Now, what is heal me? So engagement resources has been converted into human resources, okay? E stands for what? Ethical requirements. Then A stands for what? Acceptance and continuous. L stands for leadership. M stands for what? M stands for monitoring, and E stands for engagement performance, right? That is how you should remember the components of what? Components of quality management. Now, my friends, please try to understand with me. Whenever you go to a hospital, you expect them to do what? You expect them to heal you with what? With quality. So that is how quality management is related to heal me, okay? See, whenever you make any mnemonic, you should always understand that this mnemonic should also help you understand which heading it is under, right? So the mnemonic heal me is under quality, and how do you remember it? Whenever you go to a hospital, you say heal me, but with quality, right? That is the trick, okay? So you should always follow it. Now, leadership, that is, leadership should take appropriate responsibility. Leadership should take what? Leadership should take overall responsibility for managing and achieving the qualitative results. When I say relevant ethical requirements, what do I mean by it? That determines whether members of the audit team have complied with the relevant ethical codes or not. You know, in our case, when I used to work with one of the big fours, they used to take global approval or global signature, that whether or annual signature on a global level, that what are our investments and whether are we related to some of our clients. Acceptance and continuance is also there. Acceptance and continuance, that is, there should be a quality procedure on acceptance and continuance procedure. It is generally checked every year whether we are independent of the client or not, and whether there are any issues, any ethical issues, and whether they need any safeguard or not, right? Then engagement resources, whether the engagement uses the appropriate resources or not. For example, whether the relevant qualified team is being applied or not, whether the tools and tricks available with the organization is being applied or not. Engagement performance, whether there is a continuous system of taking the responsibility and designing the procedures and delegating the responsibilities to appropriate people and measuring their performance, whether they will be able to achieve the engagement objectives or not. And monitoring and remediation, as in continuously checking whether every procedure is working appropriately or not, just in case if any procedure requires updates, then whether that update has been done or not. Now, there is a detailed explanation of engagement resources, engagement performance, which is direction, supervision and review here, okay. Then there is engagement quality review. This is a new heading for us, okay. So let's first complete this one, okay, in a very quick manner. So when I say engagement performance, engagement resource, what do I mean? The appropriate capabilities and competence expected of the engagement team as a whole include the following: any understanding of and practical experience should be there with the audit engagements of similar nature, understanding of professional and regulatory standards, appropriate technical knowledge should be there. Then we will be able to say that the engagement resources procedure has been performed appropriately or it is driven in the quality management way. Knowledge of relevant industries should be there, ability to apply professional judgment should be there, and an understanding of the firm system of quality management is there. Generally, my friends, in regular classes we take the examples for each one of them, but here we are revising, and that is why I am maintaining the pace also, so that you can cover the appropriate appropriate syllabus in the due timeline also. Just in case if you have any trouble, please feel free to reach out to me. We will be having a detailed discussion about it as well. I am not taking much of the examples over here. I am only taking examples for the important pointers so that you can revise it in the appropriate manner. Okay. Now, engagement performance, although whatever is required, I have also written it over here, and I have also summarized it into my regular lectures also. So don't worry about it. Now, engagement performance. When I say engagement performance, so there should be a system of direction, supervision, review. Direction as in what direction has been given to the relevant people, how the work has been divided, and whether they are qualified to do the work. When I say supervision, that is whether there is a system of continuous checking that whether the work is being done in the required manner or not by following the due procedures or not. And review, after the work is done, is there a system of continuous review by the senior team members to ensure that the work has been done appropriately, the evidences have been taken sufficiently, and whether the evidences show the conclusion that has been derived or not, right? That is very, very important. Now, for each one of them, there are certain lines that you need to mention. So, for direction, the engagement partners provide direction to the engagement team by informing engagement team members of the following: their responsibilities, the objectives of the work, nature of the business, risk related issues, problems that may arise, the detailed approach to the performance of the engagement. When I say supervision, so supervision means it has elements of direction and review. Functions of personnel carrying out supervisory include, that is, whosoever is performing the supervisory nature of work, their responsibilities might include monitor progress, become informed of and address significant and accounting questions, to resolve if possible any differences, to identify matters for consultation. And when I say review, so most experienced team members review the work performed by the relevant team members. So for example, I used to work as an intern level, so my assistant manager, senior manager, directors and partners used to review my work. When I used to work as an assistant manager, the director and partners used to review my work. So reviewers consider whether work has been performed in accordance with the professional standards or not, work has been performed following the audit program or not, there is a need to revise the nature, timing and extent of procedures or not, work performed and results obtained are adequately documented or not, all significant audit matters have been resolved or not, objectives of the audit procedures have been achieved or not, audit evidence is sufficient and appropriate to support the audit opinion or not, and conclusions expressed are consistent with the results of the work performed and supports audit opinion or not. Now, when I say engagement quality review, so please try to understand this one thing, that engagement quality review is a practice where the engagement performance is reviewed, that is where every judgment taken during the engagement, every evidence that has been taken is reviewed based on the professional judgment of the engagement quality reviewer. They can take on a sample basis, they can review the whole documents also, but it is reviewed before issuing the audit report. So, engagement quality review, objective evaluation of significant judgments made by the engagement team and the conclusion reached thereon, performed by the engagement quality reviewer and completed on or before the date of the engagement report. That is either before issuing the report or on the day of issuing the report, this should be completed. When I say engagement quality reviewer, so a partner, other individual in the firm or an external individual. It could be partner, it could be other individual in the firm, or it could be the external people also, but they should have the relevant qualification and experience. For example, ACCA with 20 years of experience, his work shall not be reviewed by a person with 2 years of experience generally, right? Appointed by the firm to perform the engagement quality review. It could be internal person also, yes. It could be other member of the firm also, yes. But first of all, they should not be related to the audit of this particular client, and second thing, they should be senior to the person who has conducted the work. EQ reviews are required for audits of affairs of listed companies and unlisted companies when deemed necessary by the firm. That is mandatory for listed and on unlisted companies whenever they are seemed required. Okay. Now, the monitoring quality. So, pre-issuance review is there, post-issuance review is there. Let's read it one by one. Pre-issuance review is also called as hot review. Post-issuance review is generally called as cold review. Why hot review? Because it is conducted before. And why it is cold review? Because it is conducted after issuing the report. That is important. Now, aims to ensure that audit file supports opinion, and here recommendations must be followed to ensure implementation. That is, if there are recommendations that are there, then it should be followed for the forthcoming audits. Usually applied to high risk audits because there are high risk, so that is why there is more risk, and therefore it should be reviewed before issuing the audit report. But here it is time consuming, so it is applied generally after issuing the audit report. Now, compliance with ethical requirements. When I say compliance with ethical requirements, what do I mean by it? So, engagement partners should remain alert for evidence of non-compliance. Engagement partners should remain alert for conditions of non-compliances, for evidence of non-compliances, and engagement partners should identify any threats to independence and take appropriate action to eliminate such threats by applying what? By applying safeguards and withdrawing themselves from the engagement. But here we will be discussing about it in chapter number 4, which is professional ethics, and where we will be conducting this session. We will be conducting this session on our website and on our app. So you can contact us to enroll for that particular thing. Now let's take a 2 to 3 minutes break, and after that what we would be doing is we would be going for the questions. We would be going for the questions of this particular chapter. We will be going for the questions of this particular chapter. Chapter number 2, external audits, we will be going for the questions. So in questions, we will be solving the concept based questions, plus we will be taking the ACCA study hub question also. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Let's wait for 2 minutes and then we will be starting it. Thank you. Okay, so now let's start again. So now what we have to do is we have to solve the questions, okay? And when we have to solve the questions, so what we have to do, we have to be very concise. We have to look at all the possibilities, and similarly we have to solve the questions. Why we have placed the concept based questions also when they are not when they are generally not asked in the examination directly, and when the source is only that it has been made by me. So the real reason is, what happens is, whenever we talk about audit as a subject, so even after studying everything in detail, sometimes student feels that they are not getting the appropriate confidence, and when it happens, what we have to look for is that we have the solid concept based building or not. Sometimes it might happen that you might not have the sufficient time to go through the chapter, to go through all the concepts of the chapter. So I would suggest that you see these concept based questions and then go for the examination, okay? But you cannot go based on just these questions, okay? What you have to do is you have to study appropriately, but at the end of the revision session you can do it, right? Okay, so let's start with solving the questions, okay? Which of the following best describes the purpose of an external audit? To express an opinion on the truth and fairness of financial statements could be one. To detect and prevent all frauds? No. To prepare the company's financial statements? No. Preparation, management, assuming management responsibilities there. To ensure compliance with all tax regulations? So no. Not to ensure, not to all. That is why option A is the right option. Then option B. Who appoints the external auditors of a company under most corporate governance frameworks? Who appoints the external auditor of a company? Audit committee? Maybe. Shareholders? Maybe. The board of directors generally not, the regulators generally not. So audit committee versus shareholders. So shareholders are there, right? Then which of the following is a key principle of an external audit? Which of the following is a key principle for the external audit? Which of the following is a key principle for the external audit? So independence of the auditor, generally yes. Responsibility for preparing accounts? No. Guarantee of profit growth? No. Guarantee what is there? Maintenance of accounting records? No. Maintenance is not there. That is why option A is the right option. Which party is responsible for the preparation of financial statements? Which party is responsible for the preparation of financial statements? Auditor, shareholders, management, or audit committees. So auditor is not there, shareholder is not there, audit committee is not there. That is why management. Okay. Now the requirement for auditors to maintain independence is mainly two. The requirement for auditors to maintain independence is mainly two. See my friends, this is just a basic question. These are just basic questions, and that is why what I am doing is I am not giving you time to answer these questions, but when we solve the study questions, you will get at least 1 minute for each questions, okay? So the requirement for auditors to maintain independence is mainly two, not 1 minute, 30 seconds, okay? 30 seconds should be sufficient. So the requirement for auditors to maintain independence is mainly two. Reduce audit cost? No. Increase management efficiency? No. Enhance the credibility of the audit opinion could be one. Let's read the fourth option. Reduce fraud within an organization? No. That is why option C is the right option. Now, which of the following is not a limitation of external audit? Which of the following is not a limitation of external audit? Not a limitation. Which of the following is not a limitation of the external audit? So, use of sampling? Generally, yes. Reliance on management representation could be the answer. Inherent limitations of internal control? No, it is also a limitation. Guaranteeing fraud detection? So, guaranteeing fraud detection? No, this is the right option, right? Okay. The term statutory audit means an audit required by law could be one. An audit performed voluntarily by management. Voluntarily, what is there? Therefore, no. A review of controls only? No. A fraud investigation management engagement? No. That is why option A is there. Then which body typically sets auditing standards for external audits? So we have discussed now IASB is there. So management does not set it, the client does not set it, the audit committee does not set it. That is why option B, International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board. Then which of the following is the primary objective of the external audit? Which objective? Primary objective. Primary objective of external audit. So to provide an opinion on financial statements, yes. To prepare tax returns, no. To improve operational efficiency, no. To detect all frauds, no. That is why option A is the right option. Now, who is responsible for preventing and detecting fraud in a company? So that the primary responsibilities of the management. External auditor, no. Audit committee, no. Management, maybe. Shareholders, no. That is why option C is the right option. Now, which of the following is not a benefit of an external audit? Which of the following is not a benefit of the external audit? I hope I am audible and visible again. Yes, I hope I am audible and visible again. Please confirm me if I am audible and visible clearly. Please confirm if I am audible and visible clearly. Yes, I hope I am audible and visible clearly. Okay, so which of the following is not a benefit of an external audit? So increased credibility of financial statements. Which of the following is not a benefit of external audit? Increased credibility of financial statements. This is a benefit. So this could not be the answer. Assurance to shareholder, this is also the answer. Guarantee of profitability is not there. Improved confidence in capital markets, yes. So option C is the right option. Now, Who normally determines the level of audit fee in an external audit fee? Whosoever would appoint, they'll have the liberty to decide the remuneration or negotiate the remuneration. So generally shareholders, but management and auditor subject to shareholder approval could be one. Shareholders directly, generally not, because they directly don't meet the auditor in an official manner. Then audit committee alone, no. The regulators, no. So management and directors subject to shareholder approval, that is shareholder would be approving it after deciding or after negotiation between auditor and management. Now an external audit engagement primarily serves to audit engagement letter. Although we have not revised this particular area, but I am assuming that you have some knowledge of it. So an external audit engagement letter primarily serves to reduce audit fees, no. Define the scope and responsibilities of auditor and client. Define the scope and responsibilities of auditor and client, generally yes, but let's read the other options. Guarantee no fraud will occur, no. No guarantee is there. Replace statutory requirements, no, that is not there. Option B is the right option. Now, which of the following is a key difference between external and internal audit? Which of the following is a key difference between external and internal audit? Which of the following is a key difference between external and internal audit? So, external audit reports to shareholders, internal audit reports to management. Could be one. External audit focuses only on controls, internal audit on financial statements, no, it's the opposite. External audit is optional, internal audit is mandatory, no, not true. External audit is independent, internal audit is not, no, internal audit could also be independent, that is why option A is the right option. Now, which of the following best describes the expectation gap? This is covered from chapter number 1 and basics of the audit, right? Expectation gap, that is what public thinks are the responsibilities of the auditors and what are the actual responsibilities of the auditors. So the difference between audit fees charged and the value of service, no. The difference between what users expect auditors to do and what auditors actually do, could be one. Sorry, I have put the wrong symbol by default, by mistake. Okay, so the difference between statutory and voluntary audits, no. The difference between internal and external audit, no. Option B is the right option. Now, which of the following is a threat to auditor independence? Which of the following is a threat to the auditor independence? Rotation of audit staff. Rotation of audit staff is the threat. Rotation of audit staff is the threat. So generally, no. Providing significant non-audit services could be one. Reviewing audit evidence, no. Submitting the audit report to shareholders, no. So providing significant audit services could lead to self-interest threat, right? Which of the following correctly states the auditor's responsibilities regarding going concern? Going concern, although we have not revised it yet, but I hope you have some knowledge of it. So prepare, forecast, ensuring going concern, generally not. To guarantee the entity will continue, no guarantee what is there. Then to assess and conclude whether use of going concern basis is appropriate, true. To replace management's role in monitoring going concern, no. So option C is the right option. Now, why can't auditors provide absolute assurance? Absolute as in 100% assurance. Because they lack technical knowledge? Definitely not. Due to limitations of audit evidence as use of sampling? Generally yes. Because regulators restrict them? No. Due to high cost of performing? No. That is why option B is the right option. Now my friends, before going for the ACCA study hub questions, let me explain you certain things. Okay, let me explain you certain things. Number one, my friends, I was getting certain messages regarding certain pointers. I just got the comments also, I can see. So I'll answer all of them one by one. Okay, I'll answer I'll answer all of them one by one. Okay, so that it could be beneficial for all of us. Okay. 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 I'll tell you. Yes. Number one. So let me share details of crash course batch. Okay, crash course batch for December 25. Okay, let me share details of crash course batch for AA. Okay, details of crash course batch for AA. Okay, number one, notes will be provided. Okay, number two, question banks will be provided. What would be the mode? So the mode would be soft copies. Okay, then what we are going to do? So we are going to revise all major concepts like we have done for external audits today, plus solve questions live. Okay, questions as in 20 plus MCQ cases and 30 plus descriptive cases. Okay, schedule is what? Schedule TTSS, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Timing is 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Okay, duration is generally 25 to 30 hours in total. Okay, timeline. So start date, we started on 14th October. Today is our second lecture. End date, expected end date is 14th November, that is mid of November. Okay, this is relevant for December 25 as well as March 26 attempt, so don't worry about it. Okay, even if you are going to appear for March 26, you can take the similar batch. Okay, I hope this is clear. And there are no other queries that you need to ask here. Now let's focus on the ACCA study up question. Okay, let's focus on the ACCA study up questions. Okay, so let's focus on the ACCA study up questions now. Now my friends, what you need to do is, again you need to follow the same trick, that you need to read the questions first and then you need to see which questions you are able to solve even without looking at the case study, and just in case if you are not able to solve any questions, you should mark it and then go for the case studies. Okay, so which of the following sources should be included in the course on external audit regulation? Okay, which of the following sources should be included in the course on external audit for external audit? And for each answer I will be giving you 1 to 2 minutes so that you can solve it. So which of the following sources should be included in the course on external audit regulation? ACCA's code of ethics and conduct, yes, it should be included. Companies legislation, yes, because it is for external audit regulation, right? IFRS accounting standard, no, this is for accounting. This is for accounting and not auditing, right? This is for accounting and not auditing. International standards for auditing, yes. So 1, 2 and 4 should be the right option. Oh my god, but I have answered it, right? I wanted to give you the time. No worries friends, this was pretty direct question, that is why I have answered. Okay, now first question we have answered now, and we were able to answer it without looking at the case study. Now the new recruits need to know the rights of auditors to fulfill their responsibilities for an audit conducted in accordance with international standards on auditing. The new recruits need to know the rights of auditors to fulfill their responsibilities for an audit conducted in accordance with the international standards on auditing. So which three of the following rights of auditors to fulfill their responsibilities? So to access all accounting books and record at all times could be one, yes. Now to insist that financial statements are corrected if they are not presented fairly, no. To insist, no. To receive notices of all general meetings, yes. Not just meetings that concerns them as auditor, notice of all. Be heard at matters which concerns them as auditors, right? To attend and be heard at all board meetings on matters of concern to the auditor, no, because this is board meetings and do not get confused. And to receive all information and explanations from management necessary for the proper conduct of the audit, yes. So option A, C and E are there. Okay, these are also pretty direct from what we have studied, that is why no requirement of time also. Now question number 3, which of the following statements regarding the application of ACCA's code of ethics and conduct to students are true? Code of conduct is from chapter number 4, professional ethics. I hope you have certain knowledge of it. So registered students are bound by the code as affirmed by their signature on their enrollment application form. So registered students are also subject to relevant ethical requirements. Is it true? Tell me in comments. Is it true? Tell me in comments. Yes, I can read it. Yes, I can read it on both devices. Please let me know. Please let me know. Please let me know. Yes, what do you think? Registered students are also subject to the relevant requirements, ethical requirements. Students, yes, that is true. Similarly, registered students who fail to comply with the code will be liable to disciplinary action. Is it true? Yes. So both 1 and 2 are the right options. Now let's focus on the next question. Next question. Which of the students' statement correctly describes inherent limitations in an audit? But the statements are not here, right? For this, there would be case study. So there are 4 statements. See which ones are true. Information is largely historical, therefore it does not reflect future events or transactions. Okay, this is inherent limitation. Historical information is there. Most audit evidence is persuasive rather than conclusive. Yes, this is also true. We have seen it, right? It is a inherent limitations. I want your answers also, my friends. I can see on both devices. Yes, a substantial degree of classification and aggregation in the financial statement means that detailed information is lost. That is, if you segregate a lot of transaction into a lot of categories, then the actual of the transaction, the essence of the transaction might be lost. For example, a transaction is divided into class, account balances, significant class of transactions, then there are disclosure requirements because of the presentation and disclosure in nature of financial reporting. Then the audit does not consider other information contained in the financial statement such as the director's report. This is not an inherent limitation, right? This is not an inherent limitation. That is why option 4 is not there. Option 1, 2 and 3. Let's see if that is an option. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2, yes, 1, 2 and 3 are the options. So that is why we can do it, not an issue. Okay, I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. Now, you are reviewing materials for a course that have been prepared and will be delivered by an external training provider. A section of the content concerns the relationship between international standard on auditing ISS and national standards. Okay, so a section of the content provider speaks about it. Identify whether each of the following statement is true or false. That is why we have to answer true or false. Number 1, IFAC member bodies may adopt ISS or use them as a basis for national standards. IFAC member bodies may adopt ISS or use them as a basis for national standards. Yes, can do so. For example, India has taken it as a basis for the national standards. So yes, this is true. Okay. Countries that adopt ISS cannot modify them. No, they can modify it. So that is why it is false. They can modify it according to their requirements. India has also done it. India has also done it a lot of times. Okay. Now, ISS override in national standards and regulations for external audits. ISS override national standards and regulations for external audit. ISS override national standards and regulations for external audit. No. False. National standards could also exist. Compliance with ISS ensures compliance with national standards. No, this is also false. That is why this is completed, and that is how we have completed the question of the ACCA study also. But my friends, we have solved question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, question number 4, question number 5. If it is asked in the examination, it would be asked for 10 marks, and we have invested maybe 7-8 minutes in completing it, right? Now the more important pointer here is that can we do it in the examination in this space also? Yes, you can do it, not an issue over there. Okay, I hope you have understood everything, but please understand one thing, and that would be my last step for today, which is do not ignore the case study. Even if you are able to solve all questions by yourself, please do not ignore the case study. Okay, so let's see. We will read the case study once, just in case if you develop any other information which is relevant for answering, we will be taking care of that information. Okay. Okay, you are an audit manager of Jeopard & Company, and you have just been assigned to the firm's technical and training department. Your responsibilities include developing and delivering in-house training courses to staff and monitoring the content of external training course which the firm's staff attend. A partner in the audit department asked you to develop a course for new recruits with accounting backgrounds, but who, according to the partner, seem to have no idea what an external audit is or how it is regulated. That is, they have accounting background, but they do not have any knowledge about the external audit. Okay, so he asked that the course includes the auditor's right to fulfill its duty to meet the overall objectives of an audit conducted in accordance with the international standards on auditing. Also, as some of the new recruits are currently being registered with ACCA, you will need to explain the fundamental principles as set out in the ACCA's Code of Ethics and Conduct, which is chapter 4, right? We will be revising it later. Now, after the course, you received answers to a homework task. A student made the following notes to describe the inherent limitations of an audit, and you have done it. Okay. Now, these informations does not concern anything regarding our answers, and it does not changes our answers. So we can close this chapter now. But my friends, I would like to tell you that what you have to do is you have to study well for your double examination. Do not fear. We are going to come up with a lot of revision videos, and at the last, I would like to tell you certain information that should be relevant for you. So I'll just create a new page. Please do not miss it. See, when I say ACCA AA December 25, okay, what you need to do is you need to complete all revision videos. You need to complete all revision videos. Okay, then one thing that you should not compromise on is the question solving part. See, what happens is I can give you all revision videos on YouTube, that is not an issue, okay? But when I say question solving videos, they are huge, right? There are a lot of videos. There's a content of 25 to 30 hours question solving videos that is provided in a crash course, okay? Crash course. When I say crash course, you will get the question banks, soft copy of the question banks, all question banks, all chapters question banks, plus in those question banks there would be 50 plus questions completing or considering MCQs as well as the descriptive type question. So if you prepare for AA December 25 with us through the route of the crash course, then you will get the question bank with 50 plus questions from ACCA Study Hub, BPP, Kaplan, other reference materials also, past papers also, the selected questions that will cover entire syllabus. Plus we will also be revising all the core concepts with you so that you can complete your syllabus on time. And we will also be conducting the mock test that will help you to complete your syllabus and test your knowledge. Plus we will be providing you an exclusive doubt solving mechanism also, through which you can directly connect with me and you can get more information about all your queries and you can discuss all your queries directly. Just in case if you are interested and you feel that you need more information, please feel free to contact us on the number given in the description box. Plus you can also feel free to reach out to me via any medium. I have mentioned all my social media links in the description box. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel and share this video with your ACCA buddies so that they can also be benefited. But do not worry, I will be coming up with a lot of revision videos on YouTube as well, so we can discuss more about it. Thank you so much. Just in case you face any trouble, please feel free to reach out to me. And I hope that at the end of every session, you are still able to say, got it for audit. Thank you so much.